And Bishop, can you tell us anything about Deacon Woods or the Dells?
Well, Deacon Woods came here from Indianapolis. He got saved while he was here. My wife probably knows much more about him than I do. But once I became pastor, he was the head deacon under me once I became pastor in 1978. And he was really just an excellent deacon and helper in the church. Really, he more or less, actually, I'd say during the early years when I was pastor, his position, even though he was a deacon, was more like he was assistant pastor. And Deacon Diltz?
Yes.
Deacon Diltz, he was here, because when I got here, and again, my wife probably knows more about him than I do, but Deacon Diltz, under Bishop Boyd, I think he was like the head deacon. And he more or less held the church together. He and his family kind of held the church together. And he was always very dependable when it came to the early years of the church. And one thing I really remember about him that stands out today, one was that one of his main philosophy was anything worth doing is worth doing right the first time. Another thing that he brought to the table that was just, I thought always excellent, that was very time conscious. He just believed that there's a time to start and there's a time to finish, as far as things like that are concerned. So he was very, very concerned about mainly the physical aspect of the building, the property, things like that.
He was a handyman.
Yeah.
I mean, he could do just about everything.
Mm-hmm.
I think he worked in he worked with electricity. One of the earliest memories I have of him is when I came as a little girl, back in about 54. He always led the service at night, on Sunday night.
Mm-hmm.
And then he and his family would usually do a number, and his wife and his daughter played the accordion, and they all sang together. And so those are some of my fond memories.
Did he work at Davenport?
I think he did, yeah. And then the other thing that I remember, he was so handy. He always, if anybody had a question about something, you could always go to him. When I was a kid, I got my thumb caught in the car door, and it turned purple and everything. It was giving me a lot of pain, and he said, "Come here, I know what to do." So he whipped out his little pocket knife, and he drilled a hole right in the top of my thumb, the nail, and all the bruised blood came out, and I was fine. It never hurt anymore. So that's the kind of man he was. He knew a lot.
Thank you. And Sister Anderson, you played the organ for a long time. And as a child and as an adult, what was your favorite song? And can you play a little piece?
I don't know that I have a favorite song. As years went on, what I had as a favorite would change. And I'll play something. Would you like to sing? Did you want piano or
Whichever one you want.
what? love me.
I could say.
I said you could. I would have let you.
Okay. And Bishop, can you tell us about some of the pictures and memories of the church in this book? And can you turn it around so they can see?
It'd be nice to start with the cover. That takes you way back. That was where the church was when I first came in '53. And so the car is there. I think that's the pastor. Had a lot of good times in that little church.
This was a church that was at 6th and 1. Actually, the building is still standing. Barely, but it's standing. That front cover here is the Bishop Boyd, and he loved to drive Chryslers. He thought that was the #1 car on the road. They were pretty hard, big at that time. And then sitting behind that vehicle must be the assistant pastor's car, I imagine, who at that time was over Davenport.
No, he wasn't the assistant pastor then.
No. Now, the interior here, what we have here is a picture of the beginning of preparing to build, and so all we had was like an open lot field. In fact, our house was next door, the house we actually lived in. And then cutting the grass there, one of the young men of the church at that time, Prentice Burgess, who was actually my second cousin. And then as we prepared to build, we had this grand opening May 30th, and we have groundbreaking. So in this picture here, we have 4 individuals. This was Michael Bowers, who was our banker, who helped us get our loan. And the next one to him is myself. And then we have Bishop Jeremiah Reed, who's a pastor in the city of Des Moines, Iowa. And then this was our mayor at the time of the city of Davenport. His name is Gibbs, Pat Gibbs. And the other picture over here again, our banker. And then we have a picture of my wife, First Lady Anderson, First Lady Reed, Bishop Reed's wife. Her name's Willie Mae Reed. And then I believe this is Mark Newsom, who was our financial advisor at the time. And then finally, a picture of the building once it was up.
Well, Bishop, First Lady Anderson, thank you for taking that trip for us today.
You're very welcome.
Thank you.
It's our pleasure.